Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining. I'm Lauren, an account manager here at Core to Cloud. I can see that we've got some customers and some new faces on the call. So I'll give you a little bit of a background as to why we've set up this series of educational webinars to help support our NHS trusts. We work with over 70 NHS trusts across the UK and all the Scottish Health Boards, so we're in good stead to understand some of your challenges. Today, we're going to be covering off third-party supplier risk, service account management, and autonomous pen testing. Just a little bit of housekeeping before I hand over to Phil. We want this to be interactive, so please add any questions into the chat and we'll aim to answer those at the end. Thank you.
Hi everybody. Again, we're going to start off with third party. The whole point of this is, again, we'll keep it snappy. We're going to just give you the kind of key things that we've been seeing, why these things are being taken up so much at the moment, and the issues we're kind of currently seeing and helping our customers resolve. So again, the third party, I mean, going back about 12, 18 months, we had this third party service, and really, we were talking to people and it wasn't a priority. Go back about 6, 9 months ago, and honestly, almost every day I'm having conversations around this. I think it's in the way that people always used to talk about phishing emails. They're now talking about the kind of things that happen from the third party, and again, there's been a lot that's happened, again, specifically within the NHS. And again, the whole point around this is trying to keep them safe. Now, I'm going to share just one bit of the dashboard. We'll just talk you through a little bit around what we do. And again, we do this as a service. As Lauren mentioned, north of the border, we do this as a kind of national service around third party. And it's ultimately all about knowing what you need to see and what you need to do. So again, for example, what I've seen in the third party consoles, we've seen a third party that's had a breach. Again, that's led to a compromised email system that's then gone into that organization. But the actual thing that was breached was showing in this console. So again, it would have been something that you would have flagged back to that third party. Again, I've seen another one where, again, there's been an onboarding form done for a customer. And that onboarding form, you'll ask things like, what's your security measures like? Where are you based? They claim to be based in Germany, but actually everything they were running was based in Singapore. So again, the information in the platform allows us to do that. And I think that's one of the key things that, look, as part of the service, what we do is we mix in the questionnaires that you currently use with an external scan. And again, I picked this test company on purpose because I really didn't want to name and shame any NHS suppliers on this webinar. That wasn't the aim of it. But I think what's really important is having that combination between asking the right questions, having a look externally and seeing what's coming up. Again, it'll give you a breakdown from external services are running. Again, are the database services exposed? How are they patching their websites? All the different things we can look at and tell you. And again, then we look at those things, are those services that you actually use? And ultimately, it gives you a more dynamic way of looking at the third parties rather than just, this is a one-off form, I've had it completed, it's getting filed, and again, nothing else has happened. And I think, and it's really helped bring together both procurement and IT. And I think recently, again, it's the first time I've seen this, is there was a large procurement going on. And we were asked to jump on that procurement and basically vet the people that were tendering for the work. And we went through and they had to go through our questionnaire and we scanned them before they got through to apply for the tender. So again, you can look at this as existing suppliers or when you're trying to bring new ones on. And again, it's all about another factor of trying to remove those kind of breaches. So again, if you're thinking about these third parties from your point of view, you've got IT ones, you've got clinical ones. Do these people and suppliers have remote access to yourselves? Are they properly secured? Would you trust their email communications? And again, if they're doing things like handling your sensitive patient data, how is that connecting? And is that database online? Is it being secured? It's all about that kind of real security posture. And again, I'll hand over to Greg in a minute because he's been doing an awful lot with our actual customers. And again, that work has been all the way through from understanding how third parties are onboarding between procurement and IT. And often there's like an initial questionnaire that then determines the risk level. And that risk level leads to, a questionnaire. And the beauty of this is it can filter out questions that aren't relevant and it helps it make it fill out. I don't know if you want to sort of add something, Greg. Again, you've done an awful lot of work on this recently.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Yeah, absolutely. What you're saying is completely true. It really brings to life the cross-department views on third-party risk and really helps to drive out a process. Some of the work
Yeah.
we've been doing with our current client base is actually building out a brand new third-party risk management process, which is aimed at bringing together siloed teams such as procurement, such as the cyber security teams, and really get them thinking around third-party risk as a wholesale problem rather than a team-based problem. So looking at risks from new providers and new service providers that you're looking at working with, as well as your existing providers, is key. But also looking and seeing what your current practices and processes are they fit for purpose? What we're really trying to move customers away from and get the thought process going is actually this isn't an annual problem. This is a problem that moves and changes with the ever-changing threat landscape. So actually thinking around how you're collaborating with your third-party suppliers. Is it annual at the minute? Have you actually reviewed and updated your security questionnaires that you're supplying with your providers? Is a big question. What we can help do with our service, we can help to walk you through your processes, how things are looking to date, and then really build out that roadmap of how you're looking at improving and driving collaboration. So we can support all of that within the platform, which is key. Managing third-party risk is definitely an ongoing thing, which should be way more frequently than a once-a-year type exercise. And we can work with you to sort of build out these processes.
Thanks, Greg. I mean, again, that's exactly it. And again, we purposely decided that we weren't going to do loads of slides and we weren't going to take you through the whole platform. Again, get in touch and we can go through it, because not only does it show you the risks associated with the third parties, say a new vulnerability comes out, it will show you that vulnerability. Is it affecting your third-party supplier? Is it affecting the fourth-party supplier? And is it affecting you? So again, there's an awful lot we can show you in the platform, and even down to your own security footprint as well, and what services you've got running. So again, Greg runs most of these demos. So if you get in touch with Lauren, we can show you it. But again, it's that combination of physical questionnaires, real-time scanning. Again, and as Greg said, it's about not a point in time. You know, we talk about this on a lot of things, but it's about looking at things more regularly. And again, that being something across your organization. So gives you a flavor. Again, we can go through it. We want to touch on quite a few things today. And again, to give you those highlights, and I want to leave time for questions at the end. Pat's going to take you through a couple of other things that we're currently doing. One of them is a massive problem that I used to have. And we see this quite a lot, that a lot of the breaches, again, Pat's going to give you the detail, come from service accounts. And I know personally that trying to get rid of service accounts that are hard-coded into scripts, and often they've dated back from Windows 2000. I think last week we were looking at an NHS organization, and one of the service accounts was 27 years old, and so was the password. You know, and the attackers are very much aware of this as well. So, Pat, do you want to just take them through the kind of a little bit about the service accounts and a little bit? I think you're going to cover a little bit around some of the scanning that we do as well. But again, all current things that are really being asked for week in, week out.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm not going to go through a presentation with you. I just want to show you really one screen. Obviously, I work with a lot of the NHS trusts with regards to their service accounts and their posture, their security posture, not only with service accounts, but obviously testing that particular posture and see if it's exploitable. But no, the biggest problem we have, and let me know if you can see my screen. I just want to.
And let me just come in, Pat. I'm just because
Yeah.
I've now opened the chat. I know someone has raised their hand, so we're going to
Okay.
do questions at the end. But we'll make sure that we raise time. So again, put it in the chat. We have seen the fact that you want to ask questions. Don't worry. Go on, Pat. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Absolutely. So yeah, so I think the biggest problem that we're seeing, you know, within the NHS, we all know that we all have on-prem ADs, Active Directories, that is, and you know they, the biggest issue we have is really around the maintenance of that Active Directory and the posture management of that Active Directory, as we've seen throughout the audits that we do, and we will do a free assessment with you for anybody who's interested before we actually do, if we wanted to carry on with the service, we can actually do a free assessment. But this is the biggest issue that we have, where we're seeing the majority of the people we talk to admit that the service accounts have a direct, access to the company's crown jewels, and they're really the most critical parts of that organization. Just last week, I was actually speaking to an NHS trust. They suffered a cyber incident. It wasn't a major incident, but they did suffer a cyber incident. And during the time of that cyber incident, they were actually doing a proof of value with us regarding service accounts, because it was a big issue for them. And they actually said to us, if we weren't doing during that time a proof of value with you, we just wouldn't have knew how they actually got into the platform, or what account they were actually able to compromise within our Active Directory, because we've got just so many accounts that we've lost control of, and we're not able to manage, and we really don't know what them service accounts are doing anymore, and we're actually concerned about deleting them accounts or removing them accounts. So really with Anetac, and this is really the point I wanted to get, is this is giving you an insight into your Active Directory, into all of those accounts that service accounts, any accounts that are dormant accounts, any accounts that are exhibiting behaviors of a user account, or vice versa. Are they user accounts within your AD that are acting as actual service accounts, where the developer may have put his credentials in, or he may have just put his details in when he was developing in a particular application. So this is actually looking at the behavior of all of your accounts within your organization, both internally within your AD, and now we're obviously seeing some of the NHS trusts move to a cloud-based identity platform such as Azure Entra ID, and it will also look at the Entra LDAP or the Entra ID entries, and give you a behavioral report on them as well. This is really the last slide I just wanted to show you. I don't want to go through a presentation, because we can do a demonstration with you. If your service accounts are causing you a problem within your organization, and you fear that you haven't got a handle on those service accounts, then please come to us. We're more than happy to run an assessment. Just for information regarding the assessment, we can do it very easily with a virtual machine, where you would create a virtual machine, and we would help you capture the events from your Active Directory. Or with some of the NHS trusts, if you've got a SIEM in place, or you've got any log collection that's already happening within your organization, well, we may be able to leverage that particular Active Directory log collector and utilize that information. So this is really about discovering those underlying problems with accounts within your AD, monitoring the behaviors of them accounts. It isn't a static point in time report on the assets within your AD. It's actually looking at what those AD accounts are doing, how they're behaving, what processes they're interacting with, and it will really give you a detailed active dashboard with reporting of how those are performing. So yeah, more than happy to talk further on that, give you a demonstration in detail, show you the platform. But really, if you are struggling with your AD, then please come to us and we can do a free assessment.
I think as well, Pat, it's also really key. It shows you how to unpick them, doesn't it? It shows you where it gives you like a map, and the map says like this is where it's used, and it builds that up, and it really lets you securely remove them. Again, I know that in the good old days, you can do some stuff manually, but you'd always miss a few. I used to take out the service accounts, and sometimes you wouldn't see that it was using something until the service restarted. So you'd think you were fine, and then a few weeks later, a server would reboot, and the service wouldn't come back, and all of a sudden you'd be getting a call out of hours. So again, it gives you the confidence that you can actually secure these accounts.
Absolutely. So yeah, so as you can see on this slide, authentication protocols, how are those accounts authenticating? Are they using weak protocols like NTLM, or how are they actually behaving? So as Phil mentioned on the map, we can actually see from a particular map what that process is doing. It may be making more connections, or that service account may be making more connections than it should be doing. So you can actually see graphically within the dashboard exactly how that service account is behaving as well. So does many things, and because we have that hook into the AD, we can see all the age of the passwords, how weak they are, etc., etc. And yeah, it's a
Perfect.
great product.
So I
Thanks,
was going to
Pat.
say, what was the oldest service account that you actually had found, or that you've heard around? It was
Almost
quite long,
30
wasn't
years.
it?
Almost 30 years.
30
Yeah,
years.
quite a
So
lot,
yeah, so in 1995 we had one. Yeah, so coming, almost 30 years. So we definitely see some old ones.
Yeah, we do. And again, they'll have the weakest passwords typically.
Yeah.
So Pat, do you want to take them through the kind of last thing that we're talking about? I want to make sure that we leave time for questions. Again, we're not intending to get into loads of detail because that's just to give you guys a flavour of what we do, really. Do you want to swap over,
Yeah,
Pat?
absolutely. As well as obviously the Anetac, with regards to service accounts, one of the things we are doing with a lot of the NHS trusts is our security testing service. And this is all about, continuously testing, moving away from that point in time, once a year penetration
Do you want to
test.
swap your screen over, Pat, if you're showing
Oh,
anything?
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Let me just swap over. There we go.
I thought I'd give you 10 seconds and I thought, oh, I better intervene here.
Yeah, I beg your pardon. Where are we? Stop share, and then I'm going to reshare. I beg
That's all
your
right.
pardon. There we go. I knew I'd be the one to make the first mistake, but there we go. Right.
No, not at all.
Let me know when you can see that. There we go.
Coming, I think. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So sorry about that. So yeah. So security testing service. Yeah. What we also do at Core to Cloud. I'm very much involved with the pen testers here. Is really about, with a lot of our NHS trusts, is moving away from that once a year. We call it a drive-by pen test. So we believe that it is necessary to do a continuous validation of your network throughout the year. We see a lot of we speak to a lot of NHS trusts. They have their annual pen test. They find a whole host of problems. They're given a list to fix, and it goes to somebody who may be over-resourced, or just can't get round to fixing stuff. And by the time they know it, or by the time they've fixed the problems, there's a whole host of new problems on their particular infrastructure. So we have a service where we will look to continuous and consistently pen test your network. So these are some of the issues that we see with regards to the costs of having an annual pen test. The scope of a pen test is sometimes limited where they're actually testing. Again, it could be confusing. They're unrealistic, or they're given a load of issues that may not be something that they need to focus on. They may not be known exploitable vulnerabilities. So as part of our testing service, and I will flick over to the dashboard and I'll show you very quickly, we're able to do that. We're able to test with you continuously throughout the year. We're able to find, we're able to fix, we're able to jump, verify, we're able to tell you exactly what you need to fix. So when you actually come to your annual pen test, this isn't replacing your annual pen test. This is about continuously validating what you already have within your network. So we can help you on that. There's nothing to install it within your network. We can supply a virtual machine to you, which you just place in your network, and then we can run them scans. But there's nothing to install on any agents or anything internally within your network. It's all done from a SaaS application that we would give you access to. So just on that
I was
point,
going to say, Pat, just
yeah.
save a question. Again, we've got this in a lot of organizations, so the DPIAs have been done for this. And one of the really key things for this is how easy it is to manage. Again, it auto updates every time you run it, so you've always got the latest image. Again, the Linux that it runs on is a one-click update. You press one, it updates the Linux. So it's a really easy way to deploy, and it's really easy to run across multiple sites. Again, it's not for now, but just letting you know that sort of stuff's been really well thought through. Again, it's worth showing the dashboard, but the detail that comes out of this is really good. one of the key things that I liked about this when we were testing it is it doesn't hide how it does things. It'll actually give you, say you had Kali Linux or whatever, and you were running it, it will give you the command that it's running. So it's not trying to hide how it did something. So you can really, right, okay, and then you can do one right click to verify you fixed it. Go on, sorry. Pat.
No problem, Phil. That's fine. No, please jump in. Can you see my dashboard here? Can you see my dashboard, Phil?
Yeah, can see that.
Sorry, I was trying to find the unmute button. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. And again, we can give you a full-blown demonstration of this. I just wanted to really show you the output really of what we actually provide, what we can do. This is just a sample internal pen test where we were able to, running that pen test on, a number of networks or a single network, we were able to, expose a very critical level within that network. So we would go through with you with regards to what we were able to expose. In this example, we were able to, domain compromise. We were able to get to the crown jewels effectively, what we were able to do. This basically shows you, the number of impacts that we were able to expose, and an impact is effectively like an achievement. So in this particular example, we can see domain compromise, host compromise. We were able to get to critical infrastructure. We were able to expose sensitive data, etc., etc. So we would go through all of this information with you. We would talk about the credentials that we were able to find within your network. We would give you reporting on the systemic issues within your organization. In this particular example, what we recommend.
As well, Pat, I was going to say, and it's not just CVEs. This is about the lasting things to change and fix.
Absolutely.
And the key thing is and one of the, and again, we probably don't have time to show you, but the reports that come out of this look like they've been written by a person. They're that well written. There's exec reports, there's full 10 test reports, and there's fix reports as well, where they actually take you through the step-by-step stuff to actually fix it. So I think it's something we can do. We can do, if you want to test it out, we can do it in one day with you. And you can see how that looks in your environment. And again, you can get some reports out of that from, again, 30 or 40 sample IPs to actually test again. I think Pat's going to just show you a couple of things.
Just very quickly, I'll show you the output of it. Obviously,
then we can go to questions. Yeah.
As part of the service, we'll go through the remediation steps, what you need to do, recommendations, what you need to fix, etc., etc. But we will obviously give you a full report. I mean, this report is 346 pages, but don't be intimidated by this.
That's the big one, though. There are some.
Yeah, it's the biggest one. It's a lot of proofs in there, a lot of the evidence, how we managed to get to the crown jewels, what were the steps we took, screenshots. So it is padded out with a lot of information, useful information that you can then obviously take away to the network team, the cyber team. So we actually give you the full evidence, of what we did. And again, I won't go through this in detail, but this is really, a lot of this is taken from the dashboard, but giving you like the critical exposure level, what we were able to exploit, and then going into the weaknesses, what categories you need to look at, what the systemic issues are. Again, we talk about the MITRE attack, what actual tactics, techniques, and procedures of the MITRE attack framework we were using to actually exploit those particular vulnerabilities. And as Phil mentioned, this is not a vulnerability scanner. A lot of the NHS trusts think, oh, I'm doing vulnerability scanning at the moment. No, this is effectively a security validation, an autonomous security validation test of your networks. And this is really giving you, looking at those vulnerabilities, but exploiting them. It's not just giving you CVEs, it's actually telling you how they were exploited, and then describing the paths of what we were able to find, etc. So yeah, that's really it. Obviously very, very conscious of times and questions. But this is really this is one that we can provide as well. Thank you.
I was going to say, Pat, what's refreshing around this is the full transparency, isn't it, that you've focused on there. Time and time again, when I've worked for cybersecurity consultancies and ran through pen test reports, the customer, the end client, asks for the evidence, the scripts that were ran, how the findings were found. What the beauty of this service is that full transparency. Scripts are provided. If you've got an in-house testing team or you've got the capability of running those scripts, what you can do is simply copy the scripts from the report and then replicate those findings, which is fantastic and a breath of fresh air. So yeah, thanks, Pat.
Yeah, no worries. We give you all the evidence, as you can see here. This is just a, we ran a PowerShell script and we were able to pull information off. So we give you all the feedback, what, the proof, the evidence, etc. Yeah, absolutely. So here for questions. More than happy to answer any questions. I'll stop sharing this, Phil. I'll pass back.
That's perfectly. Emily, over to you for some questions, and then we can see what people have asked.
Hello. Sorry, I'm the random question master that's popping in at the end. Hi, everyone. So I've got a couple of questions that have come through to me. The first one being for you, Greg, actually. So can Quarter Cloud's third-party risk service ensure ongoing compliance with regulatory standards and help organizations manage risks in the cloud environment?
Yeah, absolutely, it can. So one of the things with the third-party risk management service is the ability to evidence and ask for evidence within the platform. What you can both do from your own standpoint is evidence how you're effectively managing your third-party suppliers. So if we think around CAF and the sections within CAF which put the ownership on effectively managing your third-party suppliers and also being able to evidence that, then what you can do in the platform is use that as a full audit trail. Everything that you do, or if we were offering our service wraparound, what we do on your behalf is logged and recorded. What we do is we bring to life existing and also new vulnerabilities and insights that take place, so known exploitable vulnerabilities, cyber news, and what we do is constantly map that and map those findings against your current suppliers, not only your current suppliers, but your indirect suppliers, so you can really get ahead of any issues before they do potentially become a problem later on down the line in terms of a potential breach. What we do with those findings is we don't just keep them and lock them away. We actually use them and share them with each supplier where we can see who they're affecting. We share those with them, so that collaboration to remove that residual risk, but also improve risk scores as well. And then on the second point, from a compliance standpoint, what we do is work with your suppliers. So if you've got a requirement for your suppliers to have certain certifications, such as ISO 27001, what we do is we go out and within the questionnaire we'll ask your suppliers if they've got those certifications, accreditations, and then also ask for the evidence to be uploaded. And everything can take place within the single console. So every supplier will have their evidence base of where we ask for evidence. It's stored, and then what we do is we have a business profile against each supplier, which will highlight all of the different accreditations and certifications that the suppliers have got. So yeah, it fully supports that.
Real, thank you. And I know we had people raise their hands earlier on from the attendees. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand and we will come to you. But the next question that we've got is for Phil, this is for you. Why did Quarter Cloud choose Horizon3 and Anetac to enhance security and risk management? And how does it provide value to organizations?
So what happens is often customers will come to us around issues and problems that they're having. In regards to, let's talk about Horizon specifically, we've obviously been doing this for a year now. But we looked at it, we tested it for 4 months before we actually brought a single customer on. We had a whole test lab. We made sure it worked properly. We made sure, because again, there's so many products out there, and a lot come past my desk all the time. And it's making sure that we properly test and that they do what they say they do. And again, that they offer value and they, again, will ultimately secure the organization. So again, it's making sure that things work in the way they say they do. The Anetac conversation, again, we spoke to them before they came out of stealth. So we had a meeting with them in London. They said, look, we're a new company, we're coming out of stealth. And we were like, okay, can we test it? And again, it was a product that it just solved the problem, ultimately. The way it presented it was, again, something that can really improve an organization. Because again, from the Horizon testing, we've seen time and time again that it's the service accounts that go after. And when a real attacker goes in, again, they're actually looking for service accounts, ultimately, because they're going to have probably higher privileges and a lower quality of password. So again, it's just ultimately ways that it can improve things for the customers.
And with Horizon, Phil, we also run scans daily, don't we, in our own environment to reduce our risk exposure and to pick up. And every day we pretty much find different findings, don't we, based on different users logging into the network, new vulnerabilities out there being exploited, new vulnerabilities being found. So it just shows how we're...
There was one last week. There was a new vulnerability that came against the management port on one of our servers. And again, that was new. But again, it picked that up. We patched it. It's all about those little things that you may not find otherwise, or you may find them, but probably not until a month or two later, or they may get patched as part of your normal patching regime. But again, it's just picking out those little things that might fall through the cracks.
Well, thank you. And probably time for one more question before we close for the day. So Pat, this one's for you. What makes Horizon 3's penetration testing approach different to traditional methods, and how does it enhance security for multi-environment networks?
Okay, yeah, so what we showed you briefly there was the internal pen testing. The way I believe it differs is obviously, as Greg mentioned, we can schedule those continuous scans, so we can have it running constantly. And as well as internal scanning, we can also do external scanning. We can also test the third parties. You can test your own infrastructure. We can also do phishing scans as well. So that is like using your cyber awareness tools to basically put in scripts that from a user clicking on a particular link, for example, we can then run a pen test based off capturing those credentials from a phishing scam, which is a safe test. So we can do internal testing, we can do external testing, we can do AWS testing, we can do Entra or Azure testing. So real lots of different types of tests. Where typically a pen test will just be, usually external or internal testing. So we can mix and match the testing, and we can also do some rapid response testing as well. So if you have as Phil mentioned, we have a rapid response element within the platform to identify if you're running a particular system or particular solution. We will identify that. Let's say Palo Alto firewalls, for example, they had a recent vulnerability. FortiGates, they had a recent vulnerability. So we're very easily and quickly able to target these types of equipment and test against those particular solutions or systems very directly, targeted testing. So that's where I really see the difference from traditional testing or pen testing. It's more of a validation tool.
And Pat, we can also test the efficacy of remedial work, can't we, with the comparison assessment? So if we support a customer with remedial activities from the top weaknesses that we've identified related to those impacts, we can, once they have had confirmation of the remedial activity, we can schedule a pointed comparison assessment, can't we, to test out the efficacy.
Absolutely.
Which is
all the exploits, all the weaknesses, they're all put in severity level, and you may have a very high severity and a very low one. We will look at that with you and go through and decide what is the low hanging fruit, what can we actually clear off easily, which will stop us from getting for the end point or the action on objectives really of a pen test. So yeah, really.
Thanks, Pat. Sounds good.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending today's webinar. If you'd like to learn more, please do get in touch with our team, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.